Well, beginning with the pros, the obvious one here would be team chemistry. If you're trying to build the most team chemistry and have the most team continuity possible going into the regular season, then you obviously want to have your day one roster complete, which obviously couldn't happen unless they would make the trade for Andrew Wiggins. At that point, they could then get him ahead of training camp, kind of organize him into their team and see where the fit is and kind of what they need to do with him, or maybe not do with him, to get the perfect rotation with Andrew Wiggins on their team. And well, that right there alone is a pretty strong argument to do it if you ask me. I mean, if you wait until the trade deadline, then you're missing out on roughly 4 months of team chemistry and team continuity in which could be built. And in that time frame, you can factor in lineup combinations, the overall fit, and where you want to use that player in your rotation. That's a lot of missed time that you simply can't get back. Yes, there might be trades that simply fit perfectly and take no time to integrate that player at all, kind of like the Dorian Finney-Smith trade. I think actually the Andrew Wiggins trade and the fit on a team would be pretty seamless, but you never know until you actually acquire the player and try to make them fit. So that's kind of the main argument to trade for him right now in my opinion. Getting him for their training camp, getting more time with him, rather than potentially waiting until the trade deadline, at which there's only 2 to 3 months left in the regular season. That's kind of the main argument for it. But then for the argument against trading for him right now and doing it prior to training camp, would be in my opinion the price. At this point, the price for Andrew Wiggins is very high, even as high as reports saying that it might take Dalton Knecht, Rui Hachimura, and the Lakers' only tradable first-round draft pick to get him. And at that point, I think it would be a big-time overpay. I mean, I for one would be willing to trade for Andrew Wiggins, but simply not for that price. My personal price point for him would be either Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and maybe 2 first-round draft pick swaps. Or if they really want Dalton Knecht, then maybe Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, Dalton Knecht, and at the absolute most a protected first-round draft pick. But I'm not doing Dalton Knecht, Rui Hachimura, and their only tradable first-round draft pick. In my opinion, that's a gigantic overpay and will put them in a tough spot after that point, especially when it comes to making a trade. I mean, if the Andrew Wiggins trade wouldn't work out for some reason, if they have an injury and therefore need to replace them and can't do it through the free agent and or buyout market, then they don't have many trade assets left. I mean, if they're trading Hachimura, Dalton Knecht, and or their first round draft pick to get Andrew Wiggins, they have virtually nothing left in regard to trade assets. No future first round draft picks left, no real young assets left to trade, and not even a big expiring contract that actually has value through a trade. At that point, they'd either be left with Maxi Kleber and Gabe Vincent through trades, or Rui Hachimura without Dalton Knecht and without a first-round draft pick, which wouldn't allow them to get very much through a trade. So that's definitely a big risk with it. If they're giving up the current price for him and what it would take to get Andrew Wiggins, they would basically have no trade assets left and this would be the team that they would be working with pretty much no leeway left. So that would be option number 1 and really what they have to think about with it, both the pros and the cons that could potentially come with it. But how about for option 2? Not trading for him prior to training camp, and instead waiting until maybe the trade deadline or sometime during the regular season. Well, the primary pro here in my opinion likely would be the price. If we're talking about the Miami Heat and their current outlook, it's not a very good one in my opinion. At the absolute best, they might be a middling playoff team, maybe a 6th through 8th seed, but that's probably their peak in my opinion. Even in an injury-depleted Eastern Conference, and with both the Celtics and Pacers probably not going to be at the top of it, I wouldn't put the Heat at anywhere higher than 6. And more likely than not, they'll be in that play-in tournament range and probably and hopefully finally look to offload their team and enter a rebuild or at least a soft reset, which would very likely include trading Andrew Wiggins. And well, at that point, I think the price for him would be a lot better. I mean, it could still be kind of high, but definitely not the Dalton Knecht, Rui Hachimura, and a first-round draft pick kind of price high. Maybe it lowering down to Rui Hachimura and a couple of first-round draft pick swaps. Maybe that, or again, the Kleber, Vincent, and Dalton Knecht price. But maybe a protected, or maybe not even a first-round draft pick with that. That might be what eventually happens with Andrew Wiggins and the price that eventually becomes of him. Or even apart from that, and even apart from trading for Andrew Wiggins, that time would give the Lakers more time to evaluate their current team and the current trade market. I mean, maybe Jake LaRavia becomes that 3-and-D wing for their team, maybe they figure out that they don't really need Andrew Wiggins, or maybe not a 3-and-D caliber player like him. Maybe instead a different 3-and-D wing hits the trade market, possibly somebody at a better price and maybe even a better fit for their long-term future and with their building around Luka Doncic, that would give them more time to evaluate their own team and the current trade market, which could potentially save them a ton of trade assets. But then for the cons that would come with it, and really the cons that would come with waiting, I think it would be exactly that, waiting. I mean, if they wait too long, it could hurt them from a record standpoint. You know, if they don't address one of their primary needs and don't have a different player that fills it for them, then they definitely could lose some games because of it. Or even apart from that, and waiting too long to trade for him, maybe a different team would step in and offer a better price for Andrew Wiggins, therefore they could lose him by waiting and, hoping for a better price. Or if the Miami Heat don't get worse and don't eventually do as I think they will and go into the play-in tournament and kind of in that range, then maybe they hold on to him or keep up the price pretty high for him. So from that standpoint, waiting might actually not benefit them and actually might hurt them more than benefit them, kind of leaving it up in the air from option number 1 to option number 2. But then finally for option number 3, simply not trading for him and the cons and pros that would come with that, I guess you can make an argument for it both ways. The pros for not trading for him might be if you think the price is too high for him, if he doesn't fit their long-term outlook, and kind of the contract that would come with him. All of these are things I've talked about with Andrew Wiggins before. Whether you're talking about the age, I'm not saying he's an older player, but is a little bit older than their Luka Doncic timeline, quote unquote. Wiggins being 30 going on 31, will turn 31 in February of this season, so maybe the fall off begins next season, the season after that one, but it definitely is coming sooner rather than later with him. Maybe at best has 2 years left in his prime, but regression probably is and likely will be coming pretty soon with him. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.